I'm probably going to regret telling this story, but Scott, one of my favorite people I've ever gotten to work with. He's just a fun guy. But I had been on staff. It was my second day on staff, and he walks in the door and he starts going, ba-dum, 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 da-dum. I'm like, what is happening? And then he like starts to take his belt off.
Why are you telling this story?
And he goes, I'm Scott. I'm HR. If you have any issues, come talk to me. And then just leaves.
Very as a super Michael Scott moment.
Yeah. And
Welcome to the Gathering Greenhouse, a podcast to help us grow together. I am David.
I'm Steve. I'm not Steve. I lied.
Can we shoot the empty chair? Do we have that camera on?
Here's Steve.
There's Steve right there.
We should cut to Steve. Steve?
Steve bailed on us.
What do you think about that, Steve? I like it. All right, we're going to stay on. Remember that. We're going to do that.
So we have no food today.
No, because Steve.
Where's the food, Steve?
Brought snacks, Steve.
I don't think this is nearly as funny as we think it is. And this again relegates us to one of the world's worst podcasts.
Yeah.
Like,
if you don't know, it's fun. It's fun to make fun of Steve.
All right.
It's more fun when he's here, but
it is. So we're coming off the Chili Bowl.
Yeah, that was
Chili
a great
Bowl
day.
was like, well, when does this come out?
So this is Thursday that you're watching this.
But we are shooting
after
it
Thursday
on Monday.
Yeah.
So the day after.
For us, Chili Bowl was yesterday, which means yesterday we had a great day at Chili Bowl.
Yeah.
It was different than normal, but I thought it was overall better, way better. Yeah. So,
all right, let's walk through the day.
Yeah.
You were first guy up.
Yeah.
So what was your take on the feel? We were in the theater.
Yeah.
Instead of in the gym.
Yeah.
So everybody's together in there. What'd you think of that?
I liked it better. I think for my team, it's way easier to set up in that versus in the room with all the tables and stuff. But the seats were more comfortable. I think there was more room with kids and stuff like that. And the best part of Chili Bowl for me is like, and I said it yesterday, but I get to see something. You're like the only other person who gets to see it, right?
Yeah, right.
Everybody in that same room together singing, and you look across the room, and I would see like the people I see every second service, and people see every third service and every first service in the same room, and that just is one of the coolest things for me to get to witness, and you really get to realize how big the church has grown over the last few years. I see people because I've been at the church for 6 years, just about, and like I see people who I've known all 6 years, and then I see people I've known for 6 weeks.
Right.
And that's just I don't know. It's a really powerful thing for me.
Yeah. I had a cool moment. I'm gonna get there eventually. I'm gonna wind my way there. So while you were leading the singing, I was backstage, right?
Yeah.
And when I first came up to, like, I came through the side door and came up, and I'm standing backstage while you're leading the singing, and I was immediately transported back about 15 years.
Wow.
Because at my last church, it was really similar setup.
Yeah.
Like, it was in a gym, so that was different, but it was a nice gym, but it had a big, huge stage, really similar shape and size to where we were, and it was like, that was the waiting area was back behind with all the curtains and all that. And I was like standing there, and immediately that's where I was transported to. And that's not necessarily a good thing for me, because that's one of those things that, it kind of triggers some things. I was like, oh man. But then I'm listening. And since it was just you on the guitar, right?
You just hear the voices.
You really hear the voices. And especially on the last song you did, where you cut out and let everybody sing. And it was just very cool to just be back there and listening to our whole church, everybody who was there. And then here's what I'm going to say. If you were not at the Chili Bowl, man, you missed out.
Yeah.
Because I felt like that part of it was really awesome. And I enjoyed preaching to everybody.
Yeah. It's one of those things where, some people are always like, well, why don't you put this online? Which we're putting the message up this week. But there's some things that you just have to be there for. And the Chili Bowl is one of those things. we can put it online, but you won't get it.
Nope. You want the experience. It has to be in person.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
And even I would say Sunday mornings are like that too. Like even if we have the best live stream ever, it is nothing compared to what it's like to be in the room with people worshiping and seeking the Lord together. And it's that togetherness that is just.
I 100% agree with that, because there are many. I watch every service online. Like I go back and watch it, and there are many times that I'll be in the room for the singing.
Yeah,
and it's just like this is awesome, and it's good online. Yeah, but it does not replicate what's going on in the room.
It's really hard to capture that and translate it, and so. So that's maybe an invitation to you, is if you're like, I'm mostly watching online and stuff, and you got to come in person. You got to give it a try.
Right.
I think there's so much more that the church has to offer when you're in the actual building with the church.
And if you come in person, you'll get to meet Steve in person. What do you think about that, Steve?
I love meeting new people. It's so fun.
All right. So moving from the service part of the Chili Bowl to the chili part of the Chili Bowl.
Yes.
Over 70 chilies, I think, is what I was told.
Yeah, it's impressive.
Lots of dessert, which I was super happy about. And, I felt it later because I had a lot of dessert.
Yeah.
What was your favorite? How many different chilies did you try?
So I tried, I technically tried 3.
Okay.
So I'm a big fan of tomato-based with beans.
Okay.
And so by the time we finished putting everything away, when I got out there, I was just looking for something that looked like something I'd like. And fortunately it was good. That's what I like. I don't even remember which one it was, but I'm appreciative of you, even if I don't know. Don't know who. It was good. It was filling. It was great. And then I got to try one of the honorable mentions. All the good ones are winners.
Yeah, I never get the winners. Yeah,
but I got to try the one that had a brisket in it.
Okay,
I really liked that. That was good. But Becca had my wife. She had the buffalo chicken one. I think got placed. I can't.
All right,
but she really liked that. I'm not a huge fan of buffalo chicken.
You're not supposed to say that on, like, the whole world now knows. You just said I don't like my wife's chili.
Well, no, she didn't make it. She tried it.
Oh, she tried it.
No, if she had made it, I would. It's the best thing ever.
I was like, man, I can't believe you did that.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. So I tried 3 chilies. Yeah. And like you, by the time I get there, a lot of them are gone.
Yeah.
And I'm not a spicy or hot guy. I like, really mild, and I actually had 3 good chilies. Yeah. I had one that had no beans, some purist.
Yeah.
Chili don't have beans. That was fine.
Yeah.
The one I liked the best, I don't remember exactly what it was called, but it was basically, "There is nothing special about this chili," was the title of it.
That's awesome.
The name of it. It was like, this is just a normal, and it was like, I really liked it.
That's what I like.
Yeah.
I like chili that is just good chili. It doesn't have a lot of frills to it. Mm-hmm. I think some of it's good. Like, I don't mind that. But like, when you ask me what I think of when I want a chili, it's that. It's just what chili is supposed to be.
Right.
Yeah. So I it's always fun. I always think it's really funny looking, because obviously, like, you can't try all of them.
Right.
But just looking at all the different interpretations of what chili ought to be, like, you just see, like, there were things there yesterday that I probably wouldn't call chili.
Right.
But if someone else was like, no, this is definitely chili, I'm like, that's soup.
Yeah.
And it's just really funny to me just going there and be like, there are so many different interpretations of chili, and different regions have different like you have like the Texas meat only chili, and then you have the Cincinnati dessert chili thing. So, and then anything in between. We were talking about one of them had a lot of like cheese in it, and
I'm fine with cheese. I like cheese. Yeah. So, all right. So we're going to give 2 thumbs up to the Chili Bowl this year.
It was,
Chili Bowl. I would say biggest Chili Bowl we've ever had.
Definitely.
Most smoothly run Chili Bowl we've ever had.
Yeah.
So I guess that makes it the best.
Big thanks to Centerville High School too.
Always.
Your staff is awesome, and we're fans.
Great job. So our next big event at the gathering is on March 16th.
Yes.
And on March 16th is Groundbreaking Sunday. And it literally is right before we start breaking the ground. Like we're gonna, like, within the next week after that, hopefully, weather permitting and all that, permit permitting, be realistically breaking out. But that's
permitting is really
permitting.
funny.
Yeah. So We're going to do a groundbreaking celebration that day. And earlier this morning, I had a chance to sit down with Ryan, who is one of our More Than Able follow-up coordinators, talk a little bit about Groundbreaking Sunday. So can we cut to that?
Yeah, you want to see a magic trick?
Oh, yeah, I do.
All right, ready?
Hey, so I'm here with Ryan today, who is one of our follow-up coordinators for More Than Able. And y'all remember we did More Than Able last fall, big campaign, big series, fun times, but that was just the kickoff, and it's going to continue on here for a while. And Ryan, you are a big part of that. What is a More Than Able follow-up coordinator?
First of all, thanks for having me on. It's an honor and privilege.
Hold on, stop right now. You are the first person who's ever thanked me for having them on the podcast. Like those ungrateful guys, Steve and John, never a word from them. Man. So well done. It's good to know that there are still some people out there who have some courtesy. So yeah. All right. Sorry. Didn't mean to interrupt you. Go on.
Yeah. So a follow-up coordinator. So my counterpart, Tasha, we were up on stage a couple of weeks ago at church, right? And we kind of did a little bit of kind of an introduction. But I think the biggest thing is that, we are kind of taking lead on guiding the church over the next couple of years to engage them in what really we kind of set the stage for on More Than Able, right? So kind of guiding them through the construction and just keeping this at the forefront of their minds. So whether it's through various activities, updates, or giving people an opportunity to help contribute during this next couple of years. So just trying to keep it in front of people, mostly.
Cool. And you have other people on your team that you're working with. So who are some of the other people and what are they doing?
Yeah. So obviously the staff is involved first and foremost because, we need resources. We need to make sure that what we're doing is comfortable with you guys. So there's that. Joe and Kim, they've recently come on to extend the prayer team. So they did a little bit during the More Than Able campaign, but they've volunteered to help see through the next couple of years. And we'll talk about some of the things that they want to do. Yeah. But then most recently, Stephanie's come on board to help maintain the events and plan those things moving forward.
Awesome. All right. So we're going to have lots of events over the next 3 years that help us stay focused. What are some of the things that we're going to be doing?
Well, I think the biggest thing is next month.
Okay.
The groundbreaking, right? So what does that look like during service? Like we're going to have a party, right?
Awesome.
We're going to have a party for the family. So we'll have some food.
There'll be food, right?
Yes. Food. Hopefully
food.
A big cake.
All right. Maybe. See, you're talking my language.
Costco cake.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So we'll have fun and we'll do some things for the kids too. Maybe some trinkets and stuff for some wristbands, maybe a little play hard hats for the kids. But I think the big thing is we want to invite everyone to come back at 4:00.
Right.
4:00 is when we're going to do the formal celebration, the formal groundbreaking itself. So custom shovels, some photo op opportunities.
Shiny shovels.
You wearing a hard hat.
Me wearing a hard hat.
Yeah.
That's what I hear.
Yeah, that's right.
All right.
I mean, safety first. So, but yeah, so having some music, having some photo opportunities, having some community leaders there. This is a big deal for the church, and we want to formally celebrate it and really kick it off.
Yeah, I love that. And so just to remind everybody, March 16th on that Sunday, fun stuff in the morning, and then in the afternoon at 4:00 is the ceremony.
Yep.
Awesome. Don't want to miss it.
No, it's also right before St. Patty's Day. But it's also during March Madness. So if people can carve out time to be there, that'd be huge.
So is that, have you looked ahead? Is that Selection Sunday for March Madness, or is that the first weekend of the tournament?
I haven't dug that far into it. Someone just told me it was March Madness. And I said, well,
okay. All right. So yeah, you're right. But this is more important.
That's right.
So we're going to be a part of this. I love it. Okay. What else? What else are we going to be doing?
Well, so I think the big thing is, like we talked about, we want people to be involved in this project. So during construction, I think there's some things there for the prayer team want to do. So maybe having a vigil before, during, and after construction is one thing. But also, Joe and Kim also had the idea to actually putting people's names and prayers physically involved in the church construction.
Yeah.
So one of the thoughts was maybe writing some specific prayers on pieces of paper and putting it into the walls as they're being constructed, but also maybe drawing on the 2x4s of the framing.
Yep.
Various other stuff like that. So those are just some things that we've thought about during construction itself. I think there's also an opportunity to actually get people involved with maybe some construction items. And I'm not talking about like blowing out walls and stuff like that, but maybe helping painting and doing some of that touch-up work to put our, put some touches on this.
Yeah, because there's going to be some other projects going on in the midst of all of this that we're going to need volunteers for.
Absolutely.
That's going to be an opportunity. Cool.
Yep.
I love that prayer is going to be a big part of this, that we're going to continue to really emphasize what we're doing with prayer and those kinds of things. What else? Anything else that we need to be aware of?
Well, I think that's mostly the big thing. I think we're going to just kind of iterate and react as we go through this. Mm-hmm. So as we go through some things and things change throughout this, we want to keep people continually involved. We want people, if they want to participate in this, to help make this special for the church. We're all for that. Continually just be creative with this process as we go through it.
Cool. So if somebody says, hey, I want to help out with some of these events, like I want to be on the planning team, or I can help, can they get in touch with you?
Get in touch with me, Tasha, and to steal a line from Steve, put it on your connection card.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. There you go. Put it on your connection card, and we'll put you in touch. Awesome. So I'm going to put you on the spot because we didn't prep for this question.
All right.
So, but I'm going to put it out there. So let's say there's somebody part of the church, newer, wasn't here during More Than Able, but's excited about what's going on. They want to be a part of it. They want to give a little bit financially to this big project. Mm-hmm. What do they need to do that?
So I think the big thing is, come to a starting point first, understand it, understand what we're trying to do here, understand the church a little bit more. But, I think giving financially, there are some creative ways to do this. Like, I think getting in touch with Ron, I think there's some different financial things that people can do that are advantageous to them as well. So I think it's two things. Come to starting point, talk to Ron, but also reach out to staff, reach out to myself or Tasha, and we can answer those questions.
Yeah, that's an awesome answer. And either you or Tasha is going to be a starting point.
Yes.
So you can
maybe both.
Yeah. So you come to starting point, meet these guys live. All right. Awesome. Hey, thank you for coming in today. Appreciate it. And if you see Ryan around church on a Sunday, feel free to talk to him, and he can give you lots of great information about More Than Able.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks. And we're back. Steve, what'd you think of that?
Oh, yeah. That's
okay.
Good take.
Yep. Okay. That was good. All right. So,
all right.
So big thanks to Ryan.
Yes.
For helping us out with that.
They've got quite the task over the next couple of years.
They do, but we've got the right people on it. Yeah, they're going to do a great job.
They are on it, and I thought what Tasha did Sunday was fun.
Yes.
That was funny.
Yep. That was good. Yeah. So,
all right, you want to talk about your message?
Yeah, but we got to be quick.
Yeah,
we're running out of time.
It was a pretty quick message.
It was. So yeah, let's fire away.
All right, question number 1. In our Old Testament story, why did we
study? Did I type it wrong?
You said story in the question. In our Old Testament study, why did we skip the flood? Isn't that an important story?
Yeah, so we're going through the Old Testament this year, and we skipped right over the flood. And it's like people are like, wait a minute, what about Noah and the ark? Isn't that one of the big stories?
We built the ark. Noah, no.
I thought you were going to we built this city. So anyway, we skipped it, but we're going to come back to it.
Yeah.
So we're going to do a deep dive on February 20th, and we're going to do answers from Genesis. So that's when we're going to talk about the flood. And we're going to answer questions like, did God create the world, or is it evolution? Who was Cain married to? Was there really a global flood? Who are the Nephilim? All that kind of stuff. If we have time, we'll talk about the Tower of Babel.
Sweet.
So yeah, and plus we'll have time for Q&A. That's February 20th, 6:00. And if you want childcare, you need to register ahead of time.
Yes.
Church Center app.
Absolutely.
All right.
Awesome. All right. This is actually a good question.
Okay.
All right. So if Lot made so many bad decisions, why does the New Testament call him righteous?
Yeah.
So I've wondered this, and I don't know.
So I was going to throw it back at you and just see what you would say about that.
I don't know.
Yeah, because that's something, like anytime you do the story of Lot, you got to wrestle with that.
Yeah.
Because he is certainly in Genesis, he doesn't come across as a good guy.
Right.
Right? In fact, you might even ask the question, why is he even in there?
Yeah.
Because he doesn't really advance the story at all.
Well, yeah, that's where I've always struggled with Lot is some of these things feel like side stories to Abraham's story, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And what I often come back to is though what often Lot teaches us about Abraham. And so like you talked about that yesterday is Lot's selfishness actually points towards Abraham's generosity, and that reflects something ultimately about Christ and what he's doing through that story. And so, that's probably why it's included so much. As far as the righteousness, I've always wondered, is this a situation where, like with David, right? David messes up all the time in the story, and yet he is still seen as a man after God's own heart. Is it similar with Lot, where it's showing us that even though we fail so many times, God is that gracious and that merciful? Or did something change in Lot's life as a result of some of these crazy things that's not recorded, but they maybe knew about when they were writing the New Testament that we just don't have that history? I've always wondered some of that stuff.
Good questions all. So let's start here. Is I think the main purpose of the Lot story is to help the children of Israel understand not just their origins, but what's going on around them.
Yeah.
So remember, Moses is writing this.
Yeah.
And so this is helping this brand new people understand the world.
Yeah.
They've been slaves for 400 years. They have no national identity, nothing like that. And they've got these people around them, the Moabites and the Ammonites, who are attacking them and who are vicious and awful and evil. And so the Lot story gives a little bit of context to that. And what Moses is doing is like, this is where these people are from. Like it is, they are literally a people birthed in a heinous sin, right? Which is, fascinating when you think about why is it included? That's a big part of it.
Yeah.
Let's get to the real question. The question about Lot is how. So in 2 Peter 2, Peter refers to Lot as righteous. He actually gives us a hint as to why that is. And what he says is something to the effect of, because Lot was so troubled in his soul about what was going on in Sodom and Gomorrah. And he says, even though he was there, he hated what was going on around him. So if we kind of walk through why Lot's righteous, I think ultimately it's the same thing with Abraham.
Yeah.
Abraham was considered righteous not because of what he did or who he was, but because he believed. And I think the point that Peter's making is that Lot actually believed also.
Yeah.
Lot believed in the promises that God had made to Abraham. He didn't live them out nearly as well.
Right.
And there's a lot of lessons to be learned there. But if you look at Lot, we really focused on the bad yesterday. But if you look at Lot, there are some good things there.
Yeah.
So one of them is when the strangers came to the angels to Sodom and Gomorrah, he rescued them.
Yeah.
He's like, whoa, guys, you need to come to my house right away. I need to protect you. And he really did put himself at risk to protect these people from the evil. And so there's a hint that there's something good in Lot there. Now, he does some other bad things along the way, but at the end of the day, the angels say, you need to leave.
Yeah.
And he does.
Yeah.
He obeys. And the angels say, don't look back. And he doesn't.
Right.
And so there's this obedient spirit in Lot. It's muy pequeño, but it's there.
Yeah.
And so I think we look at those and we say those are hints of what's going on in his heart. Whereas Abraham, by the end of his story, is this incredibly mature believer.
Yeah.
Right. And we'll see that in a couple of weeks when we talk about him sacrificing or not sacrificing Isaac. Lot is an incredibly immature believer. Now, Abraham starts as an immature believer, and we'll see that this coming Sunday. We're going to see some of the real immaturities in Abraham, which is, gives hope to us to say, if that's where Abraham was, that, I see myself there, but I can get to where Abraham got, which is really helpful.
It's really interesting, too, thinking about that, is both Abraham and Lot started as immature.
Correct.
And I was thinking about this when I was preparing for my message last week, is, we were in Genesis 12, but Genesis 11 is about, is really where Abraham's family, starts to be pulled out of the world. And part of that story is Lot going with Abraham.
Yeah.
And which meant Lot also moved away from all those things. And he said, I'm with Abraham on this, and we're going, leaving his family too. And so they both stepped out and stepped into this thing. And Abraham choosing faith over convenience, choosing generosity over selfishness, contrasted with Lot, but they both stepped into that. And I think there's some parallels for us today. As we've all I think about this a lot. There are a bunch of people who I was in youth group with, and we were all sold out. We were all going on mission trips, and very few of us still today, though, are following the Lord or are chasing Him, and it's really interesting, and to different degrees too, But it just is really fascinating. Sometimes the people we start with aren't the people we finish with, and sometimes not everybody who starts a journey finishes that journey or goes at the same rate that you're going.
Right.
And I think that's really, some of the frustrations we feel today is actually a reflection of this is like the same truth.
And maybe what Abraham was feeling then. Yeah, for sure. But, again, cool part of that story is Abraham pleading for Lot's life.
Yeah.
When God says, I'm going to destroy these cities.
He didn't give up on Lot.
He's like, well, what if there's 100? What if there's 50? What if there's 20? What if there's only 10 righteous people? And they still couldn't even find 10.
Yeah.
And he's like, can we just save Lot?
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool.
And does that not just imply that Lot's righteous? If just one,
Just one?
Yeah.
Maybe. So good stuff. Yeah.
All right. One more question.
Real simple, easy one, right?
Yeah, this one's simple. What's the deal with Melchizedek?
Yeah. Okay. So we didn't talk about him at all yesterday.
No.
And I call him Kizedek.
Melchizedek.
So I think you can go either way.
Said it wrong. Yeah.
Either way is fine. So when Lot gets kidnapped and then Abraham goes and he rescues him and he comes back, there's this new king that comes in. So there's already these 9 kings that are named, and they're having this war. There's 5 against 4. They're having this big war against each other. And then after Abraham goes and he rescues Lot and his family, there's this 10th king that comes in. There's probably something significant in the fact that he's the 10th king. This 10th king comes in, this guy named Melchizedek, the king of Salem. Salem means peace.
Yeah.
So he's the king of peace. But Salem is probably also short for Jerusalem. So he's probably like the king of the place that will eventually become known as Jerusalem, eventually the city of God. This king comes to Abram and is like, good job, man. He's like, and then he has this blessing for him from God. Yeah. And it says that he's actually a priest of God. Now, there is great debate in theological circles about who Melchizedek was. Like, is he actually a king?
Yeah.
Or is this the pre-incarnate son of God coming down and having an interaction with Abraham? What's fascinating in the story is Abraham gives a tithe. Yeah. Like 10% of everything he got out of the war, he gives to Melchizedek, the king of Jerusalem. And then later on in the Bible, in Hebrews, we learn more about Melchizedek, and he's used as an example of showing that Abraham tithed to Melchizedek, which means Abraham wasn't the most important, that Melchizedek was most important than him. And then it says that Jesus is a priest in the line of Melchizedek, which is why a lot of people say, well, wait a minute, who was this guy really? Yeah. So, if you're really into some fascinating reading, go ask your AI chatbot who was Melchizedek. Or just go online to Bible Gateway or Bible Hub or one of those places and read some commentaries about Melchizedek. Really interesting, fascinating character. So that's it. We're not going to spend any more time there because we could go on forever. If you have a question
about it, come to the deep dive.
Yeah, I mean, I won't intentionally cover it, but if somebody has a question, we can talk a little bit more about it at the deep dive. Yeah. So, all right, I think a pretty good podcast. What do you think, Steve? How are we going to finish this?
I think Steve should just close out the show.
Like he does his whole keep it real, keep it rooted, rah, rah, rah.
All right, Steve, you got it.
All right.
All right. See you next week.